Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Clean Greens Living, broadcasted here live on Rainier Avenue Radio. It is your host, Queen Bree, in the building. What's going on, everyone? How are you doing today? Announcements. We are now accepting anyone who wants to buy or purchase a CSA from us. For those of you who do not know or remember what a CSA is, it is a community-supported agriculture, where we grow your food for you. And during season, you come up and you pick up your bag weekly from June until November. So if you guys would like to buy your share of a CSA, please go to www.cleangreensfarm.com. Also, the Call of Conscious Museum closes this Friday. So if you have not joined the Call of Conscious Museum right here at Rainier Avenue Radio, please do so. Come join us and learn about our local community history. The museum is open from 11 a.m. until 5 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday. So please join us and tell us how you liked it. All right. Okay, it is time for the question of the day. There are short announcements this week. Question of the day. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received? What is the best piece of advice you have ever received? I'm going to go and pay homage to our homeboy and say the best piece of advice I ever received is be the validation you seek. That's the best piece of advice I have received. So please, if you're listening in, let us know what is the best piece of advice you have seen, and let's talk about it. Today, I'm super excited. I have a special friend here from Vocal Washington, Miss Malika Lamont, who's going to come in and give us some information about Vocal Washington and all the work that they do. And just let's join her on, because I don't want to give too much away. I want her to come on and let's talk about it and see how you can get involved with your community through Vocal Washington. So everyone, please welcome in Malika Lamont, Program Director of Vocal Washington. How's it going, Malika?
Well, how are you? It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. We pulled it together.
We did.
I'm doing good today. I don't know if you heard the question of the day. If you want to answer it, what is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
I would have to say one of the best pieces of advice that I ever received was from my mother. And as I get older, it just rings more and more true. If everybody likes you, there's something wrong with you.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I am grateful that my mother never laid the burden at my feet that a lot of women experience of wanting to be well liked and wanting to be, and that and be viewed as, nice, quote unquote, but not real. So I'd say that's probably some of the best advice I ever got.
That is a good piece of advice and a good reminder. If you're doing it right, I mean, if everyone likes you, you're not doing it right. That is so true. I was just thinking that today, like, there are people who are mad at me for something they did to me. However, I didn't go back and try to fix anything because stay mad. But it kind of goes to that, like, not needing to be liked or fix things all the time. So yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Now I know we've had Deontay on before to tell us about Vocal Washington, but can you tell us, can we refresh our audience about who Vocal Washington is and the work that you guys do?
Totally. So Vocal Washington, it is our goal is to build community and power, political power, with people that have been impacted by mass incarceration, the war on drugs, HIV and AIDS, and homelessness. And we work with people even when they're like still within their circumstances of experiencing homelessness, of experiencing, the impacts of substance use. And we meet people where they are and we don't leave them there. So that is really at its core what Vocal Washington is about. It's about supporting folks to express their needs and their concerns to the people that are elected to represent us. And we do development with folks, like personal and professional development, in the sense of, through participation in our meetings that occur 2 times a month. We meet online on the first and third Monday of the month, and that's a statewide meeting because we are a statewide entity. And we have people that come all the way from Omak, Washington to Spokane, and then Seattle, Lewis County. So we're represented from across the whole entire state. And then we have other meetings that are in a hiatus right now. However, meeting in some supportive housing environments and working with folks that have often recently transitioned from being without shelter and homeless, to help, work with them to build community and also to advocate for themselves.
Nice. And you said a keyword here that I hear often throughout this community and the work, as far as supportive housing, people who are experiencing homelessness, drug use, HIV, meeting them where they're at. Can you elaborate with the folks to understand what meeting people where they're at? What does that mean for us?
So for us, it means that we meet people where they are physically and emotionally and mentally, where they're at. And we don't leave them there. We offer, support and community to folks. And we don't exclude you because you're experiencing the symptoms of your behavioral health issues or the symptoms of, lack of access to housing. We meet people where they are, and we treat folks with dignity and respect. And we do our best to curate an environment that is mutually respectful and mutually supportive in our interactions with folks.
Nice. I love it already. It's like you're already speaking to the audience. Meet people where they're at and treat people with dignity and self-respect, regardless of what they're going through or what stages of life that they're in. So thank you for dropping those gems.
Mhm.
All right. So the people you work with get to go into, well, let's talk about policies first. So how do you go about doing that? So you guys go to our elected officials, and what do you guys do there? And what policies should we be listening out for in support of Vocal Washington?
So, we work with folks, we support folks, like I said, wherever they are. So we are a statewide organization. And if there are folks that are noticing things locally in their community, and they're like, how would we put together a candidate form, or can you help support us to do that? And so what we'll do is we'll share how that happens, what that, help them do question development, like curate question development that is relevant to them locally. And then we'll work with them to invite those political candidates into, that meeting. If they want to do it, like virtually or hybrid, then we will, help support them with doing that as well. Helping support folks to be facilitators, and moderators throughout that process, because it can get a little hairy sometimes, and because our political landscape is a lot anyway.
Yeah.
And so and then it's also when we're going into the housing situations that I was describing earlier, having political candidates, inviting them in to come and speak with people and have people share what's happening in their life and how the policies that are occurring or being proposed are impacting them. And I think that that's something that a lot of times political candidates, as well as decision makers, don't get an opportunity to engage with the folks that are the most marginalized in the community. And I think it can be refreshing and eye-opening for them to understand the real life impacts of the policy decisions that they're making. We also do advocacy at the state level as well. So it's like state, local, and municipal levels. We work with folks. So municipal is like the city level that you like where you live, like super local, and then local is like the county level, and then statewide. And so, for example, this year we participated in 3 different advocacy days. And oftentimes we do it alongside other organizations because we want to amplify, the concerns of the constituency that we work with. And so this year we were a part of the Poverty Action Network advocacy day. That was on Martin Luther King Day. That also happened to be Inauguration Day. And Vocal Washington members said that they needed to do something that felt empowering to them. And we also had our winter party. So we were kind of trying to cover the whole emotional landscape. Anyway, because, there was a lot of things that happened that were pretty daunting for a lot of the folks that we organize with. And it was a great success. We had a number of participants come from the supportive housing location in Seattle. And then we had folks come from Eastern Washington, and we had folks come up from Southwest Washington. And we all went in and spoke to our legislators and talked to them about the bills that we were paying attention to, and the ones, so in a good way, and then also in a bad way. And we did also the Washington Recovery Alliance Advocacy Day, as well as the Systems Impacted People's Advocacy Day. And there are a number of different advocacy days that folks can participate in. And, looking into your area of interest might be the best way to figure out how you can go and do it with other folks and learn how to tell your story. And if you're interested in learning more, you can always reach out to us at Vocal Washington. And did you want to know some of the bills that we were looking at this year?
Yeah, but before you say that, if somebody, so let's say, look, I'm new to Federal Way, well, Des Moines Way. Of course, I can always reach out to you, but what if I didn't know you and I wanted to reach out to my local community members? Where would I start?
Well, to reach out to your local community members or your local representation?
For advocacy day, local representation, and to be a part of the advocacy.
So probably the best thing that you could do is if you go to the Washington Legislature site, you can enter in your address and it will tell you what district you're in. And then you can start looking into if you affiliate yourself with a certain political party, you could reach out to the political party that's organizing within your area and maybe get some other ideas of different groups that you could become a part of. If you have an identity that you want to organize with other people that share that identity with you, you can reach out and you can Google it even and just say, for example, LGBTQIA advocacy in Federal Way, right? And then it'll show you different organizations that you can reach out to and, kind of interview them, see if they're people that you want to work with. They may not be, and they might be too. You just never know.
Yeah. And I like that you said that too, because I just read this book about partnering and getting with people, making sure that they are aligned what you want and that you guys can get along and that they're doing the work. Just because you identify with them a certain way doesn't mean you identify with everything. So thank you for mentioning that. And yes, please talk to us about policies and what policies should we be listening out for or supporting you guys in?
So we're about mid-session now. The cutoff point has happened so the bills that we're going to move forward uh, like if they've made it out of the policy space, they will go forward. The budget still hasn't been completely decided upon, and as many of us know, or that we've been hearing, throughout the media and such, Washington has a huge shortfall this year, as far as financially, as do a lot of other places. They're suffering, and so advocating with your legislators about the issues that you care about. So I'll give you some examples of bills that we were advocating for, and budget provisos that we would like to see happen. So, for example, there was a bill put forward around stabilizing rent, which we know is part of keeping people housed. And that was 1217, and it had the potential to help people stay housed and to afford to become housed. And so rent control, for lack of a better term. And that was one that we were in support of. And then 1380 was another bill that we were in support of, and it was about universal basic income. And the reason that we were in favor of that is that it's been proven through many studies to make communities more stable, and the dollars are overwhelmingly used to provide nutritious food, pay for medical needs, and keep utilities on in households. Tacoma, Washington actually did a UBI study. You can go onto their website, the city's website, and look at the research. But, folks within a certain income bracket, including working folks, received a consistent amount of money every single month. And they studied how that impacted people's lives, and it greatly helped stabilize people. And there's also a lot of, misperception about how people will spend that money. But research shows time and again that people use it for practical things that help them maintain their life, right?
Nice.
I mean, I think most of us can probably say that sometimes you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and yeah. So, and then 1574 was another big policy that we were in favor of, because it updated the Good Samaritan law for folks that are responding to an overdose. The protections that they would have. Washington State was one of the first places to have a Good Samaritan law. So there was a lot of things that have been learned since we first did ours. And that was a bill that was sponsored by Representative Davis and Representative Nicole Macri. And part of the updates were that if folks called 911 for help, that they wouldn't get arrested if they had a warrant, because our old Good Samaritan law did not do that. And of course, we want people to feel safe calling for help in order to help save somebody's life. The other thing that it did was what 5536 in 2021 told us that was going to do, which was stabilize our laws around simple possession. And however, there in section 8, paragraph 2, there was a portion that made it so that we could have a patchwork of laws if people at that municipal level that we were talking about earlier wanted to create ordinances that would not match the state law or related to other harm reduction activities or public health activities that people need. And so that bill would make it so that we would all be on the same playing field. So we were in support of that. Do you want me to keep going?
No. Those are good ones.
Okay. I was like, I have
you have a lot. Look, unless you wanted to get them out there.
Oh no, I mean those were some of the big ones. There was also another one that we were really paying attention to around 50. It's called 5031, and it would increase healthcare coordination for folks that are incarcerated and will be exiting incarceration. It's really important, to have a release plan, and so many people don't have one, and making sure that people get the support that they need. And we were also in an example of a budget ad that we were supporting is the LARC bill, and LARC funding, and that was to provide support and legal representation for kinship placements that will keep children with their biological families even if they can't stay with their parents, because we understand that Black and brown children are disproportionately impacted by these separations, and being able to keep children together with, family members is really important.
Yeah, that is important. And you said, so you guys go in here, you talk about this policy, and then once you guys talk about the policy, how do you know if they heard you? Or what is it? Yeah, how do you know if they heard you?
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty much like talking to any other person, right? Like, I mean, I think some of the most, since we were talking about good advice that we've gotten. So when I first started doing political advocacy, I was intimidated by the process quite a lot. And the organization that I was working at, the executive director was like, everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time, Malika. And I was like, you know what? That's right. And so in those moments, even when I'm like, I am probably going to talk to the person that is going to be the least understanding of this issue and my concerns. But people surprise you sometimes. And sometimes folks don't understand the full implications of the things that they are putting forward for law. And when you can bring your story and your insight to their attention, it can cause them to think more critically. And,
Nice.
Deontay and I have had some very real experiences about that we were not expecting. We were thinking we were going to not make a bit of influence on people. And some folks that probably many of us would have thought would have been the last people to vote against something ended up voting against it because they realized in good conscience they couldn't put forward what the bill was proposing. So
Nice.
yeah, I mean, you don't always know, but when you don't always have to go in and talk to people either. One of the things that you can do is go online and you put your address into that search engine. It will tell you who your representatives are, and you can email them. And you can email them directly to let you know, and you can say, I want a response back. And then it's usually a staffer, but somebody will respond back to you.
Nice. Thank you. I mean, and that makes sense too, especially with you even answered a question with like, you don't know when you're going to these rooms who's going to listen or if they're going to care, but it's
Mm-hmm.
still worth going in those rooms and doing it. And then another thing that look, I have to repeat back to what I get too. It's like, your representatives, if you see something that's not that you don't like or that you don't agree with or some thoughts, you reach out to your local representatives or your representatives, and let them know that you want to hear back. I have two questions before we head out of here, but before I say that, I just want to let you know, if you are listening in, you're listening to Clean Greens Living Clean Greens Living broadcaster here live on Rainier Avenue Radio. I am your host, Queen Bree, and we are here with Program Director Malika Lamont from Vocal Washington, talking about local policies and with the work that they do with the homelessness and drugs and HIV in our community. So two questions. How are you guys handling it with our new administration in Washington, D.C. with these local policies? Are you finding that it's a struggle, or you guys are just, like you said, putting your pants on one leg at a time and moving forward?
Well, definitely the latter. But like we are, I mean, everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time. And also, recognizing that, I mean, sadly, the issue areas that, we work with folks that have been impacted by mass incarceration, the war on drugs, HIV and AIDS, and homelessness. And sadly, neither one of our, two-party system, or the parties that we have been necessarily supportive of any of the folks that, and they both sides of the aisle have made harmful policies. So we go in, and as far as the federal level, we do some advocacy on the federal level, and we try to bring education and awareness, and really it's about local impact. That's what I find to be the
Ooh, that's
most
a good one.
important, is like focusing on your local area that you live in, and then so your municipal level government and your county level government, and then your state level government, because all of those theoretically, the Republican Party is supposed to respect states' rights. And so as a state, we are able, no matter who's in office, we get to make decisions that rule our state. And it is crucially important for us to make our voices heard, and to engage with these decision makers and policymakers in order to protect each other. Oh, another piece that I wanted to mention. Sorry, you didn't ask this,
No,
but
you're
I'm just
fine.
gonna say
No,
it.
go ahead.
There is a move afoot this session to uh, uh, fund a study on reparations for descendants of slavery in Washington state. And so I would encourage everyone to reach out to your representatives and tell them that you support I believe it was Nobles or put it forward, but that you support the reparations research project for descendants of slavery in Washington state.
Oh, thank you. Like, oh yeah, definitely. Let's get that plug in. Make sure
Mhm.
you reach out to your representatives. One last question before we leave. How do you maintain your mental health through this fight that you do for your community?
I find that exercise helps me, and sometimes having a bit of solitude, just quiet, to think
Mhm.
and maybe just be. And then also engaging with my friends and family.
Nice. Well, thank you, Malika, for coming. If you guys want to know more information, please visit vocalwashington.org, right?
Mhm.
Vocalwashington.org. Follow them on Facebook. Follow them on Instagram. Thank you, Malika, for coming in. You've dropped some gems that we all needed to know. Thanks.
Thank you. Take care.
You're welcome. You too. Thanks. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in to Clean Greens, broadcasting here live on Rainier Avenue Radio. Don't forget to like, share, and with your community, and let us know if there's anything that you would love for us to cover, talk about, or any guests that you would like to have here on the show. Thank you.